Hey, what's up? I'm just staying true to my word, starting the saga today. I'm calling it the Evolution of Man series, where I'm going to talk about just essentially the timeline of all of humanity, starting from the earliest caveman till today. Um, Maybe some speculation further. But anyway, to start this all off, let's go back to 10,000 BC and start about the earliest and talk about the earliest hunter-gatherer tribes. So back in this day, there were two types of people. There was the man who went out and hunted for food by slaying animals with his spear, or battling with I don't know, I don't know whatever, or hunting for fish, or like for fishing. That's still a tribal kind of earliest thing, with his wit and his hooks, whatever else he could use, and or maybe not his wit, but at least the hooks. But it does take a certain level of intelligence to be able to fish, because if you know how to catch a fish, it can be pretty freaking guarded. But then again, it takes intelligence to catch a wolf too, or whatever else you're hunting for. I don't know. I was hunting for, but originally in the woods, and also maybe to be well, I'll just say gathering too. If you want to gather like mushrooms or wild mushrooms like that, stuff like that. That's also I think something a man could do. So. Meanwhile, the women will probably be foraging for like berries and nuts and fruit and stuff like that. So that'd be just how that mentality, or that whole like tribal mentality would work. So that would be like, go back in the olden days though, like I'm thinking like 10,000 BC, when all these tribes would be like hunting. And back then, I think the mentality was much more of a pack mentality. It's kind of like there's like a tribal leader who just kind of establishes himself as like, okay, I'm the guy who can take care of the tribe. I'm the guy who can make sure everyone's safe, everyone can get food, and no one disrupts the pack. Because if they're like a vicious like alpha wolf instead of like an alpha dog, then they kind of just like start to turn against everyone else in the group. And at that point, you gotta set them out, or send them out in the wild before they can get straight, or just trying to get them in heal before they can disrupt the group. But, I mean that's the idea, because you don't want to like lose any people ideally from your tribe or your group. But if they're trying to cause problems, you gotta get them back in line. So that's kind of the role back in the day, was the alpha, to keep his tribe in line. That kind of translates to the hunter-gatherer thing, where the alpha provides for his wife and his family, and anyone else who's considered themselves a part of their tribe can be considered under the rule of the alpha, and the alpha would feed them in regards to their subservience in the tribe. If they wanted to break off and form their own tribe, they definitely could, but they'd have to hunt for themselves and gather for themselves and feed their own people, their own family. So if they don't think they can do that, they can always work as a part of the tribe, but they obviously would never worry about anything else in regards to roles and titles, because the role of alpha would already be taken in that group. So you wouldn't think there'd be a Judas in that group, right? I don't know. But that's getting a whole different thing, because the Bible's way different. I'll talk about that later. But anyway, that's essentially how that works. It's very much primal instinct. Every person, I think every human being innately knows how to do these kind of things. Even if it is still just like in your diet, you just still go to Whole Foods and you're like, what? Here's the kind of food I want to look for. Here's the kind of food like I think that I want to find. I want to find something organic. And it's like to be able to find the food you want to find, and scout out the things and hunt the things you want to find, based on like your preferences and what you prefer. So I guess in his own world, the alpha would just be able to have a bounty of the food that he wants to have. And that's essentially just what it means to be a modern day alpha, is to just be comfortable in your own world, to have all the things in abundance, I guess, that you need, but not necessarily in excess, because you don't want to waste your money, and to not want for anything more than what you need. So that's kind of the minimalism mindset that I come from, rather than like the caveman mindset that other people might say. But either way, both kind of tie into the same kind of thing. So that's my view on the evolutionary man, from his early beginnings and his early roots. I do say also that the role of housewife is definitely to serve her man, to maintain the house, and to care for the kids. So that's, in my alpha household, how I would view that. So, and I view the role of alpha female as being one who can take care of the kids like the best, or like, sorry, he was like the mother figure of the kids, and everyone looks up to him. The result of being like caring and nurturing. Someone who, I say that to her, who can kind of like set an example, and like other people follow her on like what they should do, and like sets like kind of like they like, kind of take under her lead, or her guidance. I'll say guidance, because that's the exact word, because leadership I think is a manly kind of term, and guidance is definitely a feminine kind of term. But both have applications in ways in which they can be successful. So, and then the third term is I would say, just being social and comfortable with like being herself and like holding her poise. So that's definitely a feminine role because women are kind of all about that. So that's kind of just how I view that family dynamic and that power duo ship in regards to the primal alpha female, alpha male role. So there you go. And that essentially covers that. So stay tuned for the next video. I'll be talking about the next stage in evolution. Peace out.